David in front.
Dave, last night, did the ball that Machado threw into your dugout almost hit you? And did you feel like that should have been an ejection? Because Tripp Gibson went over there right away to try to intervene, but that seemed to be what sparked the jawing between Flaherty and Machado. Did it almost hit you? What, did you know that it
So
came
I didn't
off?
know. I didn't notice it at the time. I really didn't. I didn't notice it. I did see the video, and it was unsettling. Obviously, I have a relationship with Manny from years past. There was intent behind it. It didn't almost hit me because there was a net, and that was very bothersome. If it was intended at me, I'd be very. It's pretty disrespectful. So I don't know his intent. I don't want to speak for him, but I did see the video, and the ball was directed at me with something behind it. So, but I don't know what led to that. I didn't see it in real time, but I did see the video.
Did you feel after seeing the video he should have been ejected for that?
I don't think they should have had a little arm around each other conversation. If players can throw balls at opposing managers, you know. Yeah, Andy. Sorry.
Second. Oh, you go ahead.
Yeah.
Just wait for the mic.
Just, you said that you felt the ball was directed at you.
After I saw the video.
Did you have any dialogue with Manny before that?
The only dialogue I had was he was chirping at Jack, and I looked at him and shook my head, and making a point that we wouldn't hit him on purpose to lead off an inning being down 2 runs. And again, the point being is I think he's using it as fuel. As a baseball person, anyone understands that you don't do that intentionally, put the leadoff man on base. With 3, 4, 5 coming up behind, it just makes no sense.
We'll take 2 last ones. Second one here.
With the intensity of this rivalry, you're mentioning what you saw in the video, you mentioned the Padres like that villain role. How much pressure is on you and the team to make sure you guys win Game 3?
Well, I think there's pressure on both teams. It's a very important game. It's a very pivotal game, and so, I mean, it's nothing new. It's an important game, and so we're both going to do everything we can to win this one.
Dave, when you kind of just think about the emotions of yesterday, they were high on the field, off the field, after the game. How do you hope to see your guys just turn that into something in tomorrow's game?
I think certainly emotional last night. Didn't play a good baseball game. Things certainly transpired on the field. A lot of jawing back and forth. It's good to be able to have a day off, reset, have a workout here shortly, and there's going to be a lot of emotions tomorrow. And I think that there's one part of it is trying to drown out the noise. Other part of it is using it as fuel. So I think that collectively, we'll be ready to go. I don't want to speak individually for some people. I mean, I think clearly, that team over there is, they like the villain type kind of role, and they feed off that. And so whatever, gets us going, the motivation is individually, collectively to win a baseball game, to win a series. And so again, it's going to be hostile, it's going to be noisy and rowdy, and it's up to us to still stay focused and compete and fight, like I've said time and time again.
Just focusing on the offensive side, in Game 1 we saw how the bottom of the order set the table for the top of the order. When you look at yesterday's performance, just how are you seeing just how important it is for the top of the order to perform to be successful in this series?
It's important. I thought, obviously the first game, I thought we did a nice job of setting the table, and Shohei had a nice game, and I still think Tommy's taking good at bats. I think Gavin's taking good at bats, and Miggy Rowe is just kind of understands his role in the 9, and So yeah, you need your best players to play well. I mean, it's a pretty simple formula. It's not easy to do, but it takes collectively all of us to take good at bats and to score some runs.
Let's go to Fabian in the second round.
Yeah, to follow up on that, what have you sort of thought of Mookie's at bats so far this series?
I thought early they started well, and I can see the I don't know if it's angst or the pressure of past performances starting to kind of bleed in, and that's something that I don't want to happen. I understand it. I believe he's going to come to life. I know he has a talent. Obviously, he's not afraid of the situation. So for me, it's more of just go out there and compete your tail off. And so yeah, I mean, I think again, the last few, I think that there was something that's sort of bleeding into the mindset, which it's up to all of us to make sure that he's in a good headspace to go out there and compete and not get too worried about each particular at bat.
Is that a thing where you have to kind of like pull him aside and sort of like reinforce that with him? Or?
I'm gonna have a little conversation with him, and the fact is that you can't change the last X amount of postseason games, and I understand the burden that a player might have, but all anyone is concerned about is right now. And so how best prepare yourself mentally for tomorrow night and the first at bat. And so that's going to be basically my message. And the funny thing is that it's not about, and you look at postseason performers, it's not that they overperformed their career stat line in the regular season. What they've done is that they kind of do what they've done in the regular season. But on that stage, they're considered postseason players. So in this particular case, all we expect Mookie is to be the same player he is in the regular season. And that's it.
Is there anything new on Freddie today?
Still sore. He's getting treatment, and don't know anything outside that. I think he's very grateful for a mental break today.
Juan, second round.
Kind of with that, like how do you balance out? Obviously, he played in game 1 and game 2, kind of started bargaining on him a little bit. As you look forward, for 3 and 4, like how do you balance, maybe giving him a blow or whatever with him playing those 2 games?
Yeah, the thought is he's going to play tomorrow, and if he can't, then he won't. And then obviously, potentially, Perez will take down game 4 or the bulk of it or whatever, and that might be a day that, we might give him an extra day. But again, if he's able to play in post, he'll be in there.
Obviously, you've seen Walker in kind of big stages in the past. Like what makes him kind of the right guy for you guys to in a third game?
I think what makes him the right guy is his past performance in those spots. I think that everyone can say they're a big game pitcher and loves that moment, but you aren't until you've done it and had success, and Walker's had success in some of the biggest games, certainly in my tenure.
Okay, Jack in the second round.
Obviously, like you guys talked about trying to match the Padres' intensity coming into this series. Like, does a game like last night, you think, fuel them any extra just with everything that went on? And does that kind of become the challenge again going into tomorrow, is finding your own response to the level that they're at?
It's our own response. It's our own response. And I think that we're not trying to hit Tatis with the leadoff as a leadoff hitter in a 3-1 game. I mean, anyone that knows baseball knows that's the case. But you use that as fuel. And but for us, individually and as a team, we need to find that fuel for ourselves. And so I'm not going to manufacture something that is not real. But again, it needs to be found. And I do believe that we had it in game 1, and game 2 just got away from us. So I do expect our guys to come out with that fight that I saw in game 1.
And then just to follow up on Freddie, was there anything like specific that happened yesterday, like a certain play that
It was a breaking ball against Darvish that he swung at, I think in his second at bat, maybe that kind of tweaked him a little bit. I think that's what it was.
Go to Bill in the third row on the right side.
Yeah, getting back to Mookie, it sounds like you're acknowledging that the narrative about his post-game struggles is getting to him a little bit. Is that fair? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, but I think that's natural. But I think it's up to, him, most important, myself, and, just to be himself. But I think certainly, there's been a lot of talk of it. He's mentioned it himself. And for me, it's 2 games, and it's, 4 or 5 official at-bats. And so for me, it's I just don't want to get too caught up in that, and most importantly, for him to get caught up in that.
Given that you don't know how much you might or might not get from Freddie, how essential is it then that Mookie turns this around?
Well, he's got to be Mookie. And like I said, I don't expect any more than he's done over his 8 or 9 year career. And it's also up to the other players to chip in also. And so, again, all my ask is for the guys to be what they have been, what they've shown throughout their careers.
Dylan, second row on the left side.
Dave, here. Obviously for Buehler, it's been kind of an up and down road to get to this point. Where was kind of the low point, you think, for him, and how do you think he kind of dug himself out of that and get himself to the point where, he pitched as low as he did in that clincher?
I think the low point, I don't know where we were at. I don't know if it was Denver or wherever, and I don't even think he got through 2 innings, and then that was a time that we ejected, and he went, to kind of figure some things out. There was a lot of self-doubt. There was some physical things that were, adding to that. But then he worked his way back, and I do think that the last couple starts got the confidence, and he'll be the first to tell you he loves the big moment, the big game, and this is just an opportunity for him to basically wash away and make right this season that he's had. So I think that was probably the low point. Again, I don't know exactly what game it was, but I'd never seen him like that. But this is the most confidence I've seen Walker in a couple years.
Alden on the far right.
Hey Dave, given just how important it is to get swing and miss in today's game, what kind of problems does it pose when you're facing a Padres team that's just so good at putting the ball in play, especially in this setting?
Yeah, that's fair. It is important because it's a variable that you don't have to contend with as far as ball in play. Just as short as yesterday, you can look at Darvish. There were a lot of balls in play, not a lot of punch, went 7 innings. So I think that the thing is, obviously I think anyone would like punch, but, I still welcome soft contact and being able to make a play. When the ball goes out of the ballpark, that's where it starts to get a little tough to defend, obviously. So I definitely think in the right moment, swing and miss is crucial, is really important. But I would still like to keep the ball in the ballpark and give ourselves a chance to convert some outs.
Mike, over here in the front of the
Hey
line.
Dave, have you given any thought to moving Mookie back to the leadoff spot?
No, I haven't. I think that, again, I just don't think that hitting first or second at this point is going to change much. I think Shohei's in a really good spot. We scored a lot of runs this year, and I just don't think that after 2 games or 3 games that it calls for that.
David in front.
Dave, last night, did the ball that Machado threw into your dugout almost hit you, and did you feel like that should have been an ejection? Because Tripp Gibson went over there right away to try to intervene, but that seemed to be what sparked the jawing between Flaherty and Machado. Did it almost hit you? Did you know that?
So I didn't know. I didn't notice it at the time. I really didn't. I didn't notice it. I did see the video, and it was unsettling. Obviously, I have a relationship with Manny from years past. There was intent behind it. It didn't almost hit me because there was a net. And that was very bothersome. If it was intended at me, I'd be very. It's pretty disrespectful. So I don't know his intent. I don't want to speak for him, but I did see the video, and the ball was directed at me with something behind it. So, but I don't know what led to that. I didn't see it in real time, but I did see the video.
Did you feel after seeing the video he should have been ejected for that?
I don't think they should have had a little arm around each other conversation. If players can throw balls at opposing managers, you know. Yeah, Andy. Sorry.
Second. Oh, you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Just wait for the mic.
Just, you said that you felt the ball was directed at you.
After I saw the video.
Did you have any dialogue with Manny before that?
The only dialogue I had was he was chirping at Jack, and I looked at him and shook my head, and making a point that we wouldn't hit him on purpose to lead off an inning being down 2 runs. And again, the point being is I think he's using it as fuel. As a baseball person, anyone understands that you don't do that intentionally, put the leadoff man on base. With 3, 4, 5 coming up behind, it just makes no sense.
We'll take 2 last ones. Second one here.
With the intensity of this rivalry, you're mentioning what you saw in the video, you mentioned the Padres like that villain role. How much pressure is on you and the team to make sure you guys win Game 3?
Well, I think there's pressure on both teams. It's a very important game. It's a very pivotal game, and so, I mean, it's nothing new. It's an important game, and so we're both going to do everything we can to win this one.
Finish up with Barry.
Just a few quick questions to wrap this up. So getting back to Freddie, if he can't go tomorrow, would there be any thought of taking him off the roster and replacing him? I know then you lose him for the next series too.
So with that, Barry, there would be no thought of taking off the roster for that reason.
Okay, and then wrapping up everything from yesterday, with Manny, with Tatis, and Profar goading on the fans, a lot of this, the Padres kind of like promulgated. What do you think of all that? What's the place of that? You know, how should that be handled?
Well, I thought that Al Garcia's team did the best they could, kind of trying to keep these things in order. Again, like I said last night, Barry, it was an unfortunate situation. It's about emotions, and I do know the players just want to play baseball, and the fans want to cheer for their team. So I've never seen anything like that in Dodger Stadium, and I'm looking forward to playing Game 3.
All right, thanks, Doc.
Thanks, guys. Yep.
Walker, in your final regular season outing, not only was it quite a really good one, but just kind of, do you feel like with what this year looked like for you, with each building block you talked about, do you feel like everything came together in that outing, and how are you hoping to build off of that when you start tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say like everything came together. Obviously, successful outing, but you know, some of the other stuff that we look at, it's, you know, outside of just innings and runs and stuff like that, wasn't quite where I wanted to be. But you know, the past month and a half or so, I felt pretty good and kind of got more into a routine, and I think being able to go on regular rest helped, at least mentally, knowing that you can do that, I think is a step forward for me. And now all that stuff is kind of behind us, and now all that really matters is the innings and the runs and trying to keep us in the game. So yeah, this time of year is just a little bit different, and kind of, at least for me, time to kind of leave what happened in the regular season behind.
David in front.
Walker, last night obviously emotions got high. You're an emotional pitcher. How do you control all that tomorrow when you take the mound?
Yeah, I don't know if for me control is not really the goal. I think embracing it or channeling it, because it's going to happen, and especially here, obviously, you know, being an hour and a half up the road, you know, it kind of tends to lead to that kind of stuff. And, you know, the energy of our fans and their fans is something that all of us kind of live for in some way, and you know, having done this playoff thing a few times, I think hopefully I've learned how to channel that a little bit, and you know, make it productive for yourself instead of kind of detrimental. And yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to it. It's always fun to play in a big packed place, and everyone's got intensity and energy and all that stuff. So.
How much does the first inning mean to just setting the tone for the rest of the game to put up a 0 and maybe you guys even score before you even take the mound?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of faith in our offense and probably the best player in the world leading off for us. So, we always feel good first bat of the game on the road. And for me, the first inning has been huge this year. Obviously, I've struggled in the first inning, but the games that I've gotten through the first clean have typically been pretty successful outings for me. So, getting 3 outs in the bottom of the first will be huge for me.
Go to Jack in the second row.
Just how much did you miss pitching in October the last couple of years? And when you look back at some of your postseason success, like what would have been the keys to performing well this time of year for you?
I mean, the same thing. Trying to kind of channel the energy, I think, is the huge thing, and understanding that each game is its own kind of war, right? In the regular season, it's 162 games, and there's this. All right, you give up 4 in the first 2 innings, and you got to kind of wear it and protect the bullpen. And in the playoffs, it's not necessarily that way. I think every game is obviously super important, but the way we play, the way we manage is just different than it is in the regular season. And so you're kind of out there just trying to throw punches as long as you can, and trying to keep the momentum, I think, is such a huge part of the playoffs. And we've seen how both the games here, whatever team kind of grabs the momentum late can hold it and keep it, and that kind of leads to wins and losses more so, I think, than it does in the regular season. So that's always kind of been my focus, is just try and create momentum, or at least don't hand it, give it away.
When you look at the year, like how tough was it, especially as you were trying to work through delivery stuff and figure out kind of where you're at physically? Like, was it tough even within starts to not get hung up on bad pitches, or is it easier to kind of move past if like those things happen in a postseason environment where, like you said, it just kind of moving to the next pitch and not?
I don't think it's any easier or any harder. I think it's all the same thing. I think part of my struggles for sure was just kind of wanting to do it as easy as I it felt like I used to do it. Not that playing this game at this level is ever easy, but 2020, 2021, there was times that the game felt like I just knew what I was doing, and this year there was times that I really didn't. As I said earlier, the last 6 weeks I've kind of felt a little bit closer to myself, and I think that gives you the confidence to kind of go and do the things that you want to do. I think when you're stuck in the mechanic or in that struggle, there's not enough confidence in the ability to do the things that you want to do, and you just get caught in between a lot. And for me, that stuff has kind of faded recently.
Stay here in the second row on the left.
Darren Hayes, KCAL. Walker, how would you describe the magnitude of tomorrow's game, knowing that you don't want to put yourself in a hole where you face that possible elimination in game 4?
Yeah, I mean, we play in these games every year. Every team that makes the playoffs plays in a game that is the swing game or the big momentum game, and I just so happen to be starting this one. So I've thrown game 6s, I've thrown game 7s, game 3s, game whatever. Like, I've thrown all these games, and so that's not the stuff that really I get super wrapped up in. I want to try and go make a quality start and put our team in a position to win the game.
Go to Bill in the third row in the middle.
2 parts for you, Walker. How have you seen this rivalry develop over the years, the last 5 or 6? And does a game like last night, where the emotions kind of spill into the competition, almost play into the Padres' hands more than the Dodgers?
I mean, the first part, obviously, my first couple of years, the San Diego Padres were not the same kind of team as they were now, and we've seen that develop. And obviously Manny leaving us and going to them, not from a rivalry side, but just in terms of the talent that they've started acquiring, I think has definitely been significant, and the past few years have definitely been fun, kind of, not for me not playing, but 21 and 20, the playoffs and things like that. So it's been cool. I think anytime our division keeps getting better, it makes kind of this season more interesting and more fun. And the second part of that, like, I think maybe you can talk about the momentum of a game like that. If we were playing today, I think the off day is probably beneficial in terms of kind of getting everybody back to neutral. And I think largely, obviously Manny and Jack and that kind of stuff, but largely like the biggest drama in that game was the stuff on the field and getting thrown on there, at least for me. So, we'll see what happens. I know it's going to be pretty rowdy here tomorrow, and, at some point, like, if you can't handle that, you're not going to win a World Series anyway. So, I think it'll be a big test for us and a big positive, hopefully, to come out of it successfully.
And how much pride do you take in being labeled a big game pitcher?
It's kind of the only thing I care about.
大古翔平選手は新シーズンもまた数々の歴史的な技を成し遂げ、その実力を改めて証明しました。ドジャースに加入してからの1年目でありながら、すでに多くの記録を打ち立て、ファンや専門家たちの期待を大きく上回るパフォーマンスを見せました。西区に日本時間3時に行われたロツキーズとの最終戦では、一番指名打者として憲法し、打死台数1安第一自動砦を記録。シーズンを通じて無所他資本砦通大、白山時代点という驚異的な数字を残し、三冠王は逃したものの、リーグ夜間をほぼ確実なものにしました。緊急、大古選手はスチューの記録を更新しました。無四資本砦対は、日本人シーズン最多本砦対、指名打者シーズン最多本砦対の新記録を樹立し、2001年にショーエングリーンが保持していた球団シーズン最多本砦大記録49本をも大夫に塗り替えました。またメジャー通算自白二次物本砦対に達し、早球救世選手の通算前期ハイム絶球本を超え、日本人最多本砦大記録を更新。さらにアジア出身者としての最多本砦大記録中心数の2敗西発本も上回りました。シーズンを通じて大津選手のパフォーマンスは圧倒的であり、特に後半戦ではホームランと倒取りでの両面で注目を集めました。8月23日、同24草のレイズ戦では逆転サヨナラ満取りでホームランを放置、史上最速で40-40に到達しました。そして9月19日、同時期のマーリンズ戦ではついに史上史の50-50を達成。これにより大古選手は MLB の歴史に新たなページを刻みました。また1内時間打や1試合3本取りで第1試合10対点といった驚異的なパフォーマンスも見せ、これらはいずれも日本人選手としては最多記録です。特に1試合10打点は球団新記録となり、まさに歴史的な一日となりました。理年9月になると失速する選手が多い中、大祖選手は9月も絶好調で月間大陸定戦93を記録し、シーズン大陸もトイスン3下順にまで上昇。日本人初のトリプルスリーという名挙も達成しました。大点の面でも彼は2005年の総小九州選手の110両6大点を大きく上回り、日本人選手としてシーズン最多大点を記録しました。6月26日、当27日のホワイトソックス戦では球団新記録となる10試合連続大点をマーク。1955年にロイ・キャンパネラが打ち立てた9試合連続大点の記録を死に59年ぶりに更新しました。さらに大骨選手は下取りでの面でも飛躍的な成長を見せました。シーズン武士弓道取りでは2001年にイチロー選手が記録した武士流道取りでを抜き、日本人シーズン最多頭取りでの新記録を樹立しました。また旧約20日、同西サンジーのロツキーズ戦では日本人選手として最長となる虫愛連続道取りでを記録。この記録は2000記念の総選へ東洋選手や2008年のイチロー選手の記録を上回り、日本生まれの選手としては2010年のロバーツ監督当時選手に並ぶ快挙となりました。シーズン中、大古選手は私杯取りで第2にも到達し、これは2001年以来西3年ぶりの快挙であり、メジャーリーグベースボール歴代でも接球人目の達成者となりました。シーズン四拍子1取りでタイは2001年にバリー・ボンズが記録した取りでタイズと並び、利大支流未タイとなっています。球団内では1930年にベーブーは 漫画記録した私博士流砦タイに次いで歴代2位という結果です。また、チームシーズン、大凧選手は極地資本砦音だけでなく、3次発本の地砦、銅と基本の3砦等を記録しました。シーズン中の休止修助、大は1930年にベーブは漫画持っていた球団の上代記録、休止資本数を大きく超える新記録となりました。加えて、シーズン敗産時取得点は、2001年、イチロー選手の100日期的点を上回り、日本人史準最多的点の新記録となりました。また、ロサンゼルス移転後の球団最多的点記録も更新し、これまでのフレディ・イ・フリーマン選手が未然な知事3年記録した130域的点を超えました。このようにして、大谷翔平選手は昨シーズンに続いてホームラン王をほぼ確実なものにしました。両リーグでの本砦大王は、サインハワイ初次記念のマーク・マグワやアスレチックス以来、4人目の快挙であり、西移籍期に入ってからでは初めての達成となります。大展望の獲得は日本人選手としては著の快挙です。さらに、大谷選手は野手シーズンの MVP 候補として最有力視されています。指名打者としての MVP 首相は史上史となり、3度目の満票首相となる可能性も高いです。もし、両リーグで MVP を獲得すれば、左円球枠粒子1年のフランク・ロビンソン以来、2人目となる快挙です。